Good morning. The January 24th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Estimates is now called to order. I ask folks who are with us today if you could please ensure that your electronic devices are turned off or at a minimum placed on silent so you do not disrupt today's proceedings. At this time, I'll ask our amazing clerk, Ms. Celeste Amato, for any corrections, additions, and noted abstentions to today's agenda. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. We have the following issues to note for our opening statement this morning. There are no changes or corrections to the agenda as published. There are no protests this morning. We do have the following deferred items. SB 2314859, procurement. This is an extension for contract 8000. Hands-free sanitary disposal service. This item is being deferred until February 7th, 2024 at the request of the comptroller. And SB 2314867, this is a procurement item and extension, contract 6000. This is hotel lodging for lead hazard reduction program. This item is being deferred until February 7th at the request of the comptroller. We have the following items for the non-routine agenda this morning. SB 2410095, procurement, emergency procurement report for excavation and hauling, Millennium and Quarantine Landfill with Potts and Callahan, Inc. SB 2314853, procurement, emergency procurement report, Calyptus Consulting Group. And SB 2314851, procurement, emergency procurement report for Civic Initiatives, LLC. We have the following abstentions to note this morning. The Honorable Mayor Brandon Scott is abstaining on item SB 2314142, Health Department ratification, the Johns Hopkins University Fiscal Year 22 School of Medicine, Care Ware Administration, Ryan White, Part A. The Honorable President Nick Mosby has no abstentions this morning. The Honorable Comptroller Bill Henry will be abstaining on all travel requests and travel reimbursements. City Solicitor Ebony Thompson has no abstentions to note this morning. I no longer have to say acting. Congratulations. And Deputy Director of Public Works Richard Luna has no abstentions to note this morning. We also have a no vote, or rather two no votes to note this morning. The Honorable President Nick Mosby will be voting no on routine agenda items SB 2314841. This is for Mayor's Office of Employment Development, ARPA agreement, First Amendment for Train Up, and voting no on SB 2310004, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, Fayette Street Outreach, NPP ARPA contract. And Mr. President, that concludes our opening statement for this morning.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. At this time, I'll call to approve and adopt the opening statements. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The opening statement has now been adopted. I now would like to direct the board's attention to a memorandum from my office dated January 22nd, 2024. Identify matters to be considered as routine agenda items together with any corrections, additions, abstentions, and no votes that have been noted by our clerk. I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve all items contained on the routine agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The routine agenda has been adopted. The first item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 118, SB 2310095, Department of Procurement. On behalf of the Department of Public Works, this request is to approve an emergency authorization for Potts and Callahan Incorporated for dirt excavation and hauling services. On behalf of DPW, we have, on behalf of procurement, we have. There we go.
Good morning, Mayor Scott, President Mosby, Comptroller Henry. I'm sorry about that. Honorable Board, Adam Manny, your Chief Procurement Officer. This is an emergency procurement for excavating and hauling of dirt at the Millennium and Quarantine landfills. The landfills were out of, there were violations, permit violations and site complaints from the Maryland Department of the Environment for failing to cover waste at the end of each working day. The dirt hold as part of this contract would provide the resources necessary to bring the landfills into compliance, along with the solid waste permit number 2019 WMF 0325. This is a one-time emergency procurement. As they move through this, the goal of this is to reduce health hazard to our workers, the customers, and nearby bodies of water such as Curtis Creek and the Patapsco River. They are moving over 300,000 yards of dirt to cover these items to bring us into compliance.
Thank you. And just for the record, can you state the amount of the contract?
The total transaction amount was $5,008,500.
At this time, Mr. Comptroller?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So this emergency authorization expires in March, 2 months from now. What happens next? Is there
My
a new
understand-
contract out for solicitation?
My understanding from DPW is this is a one-time deal, that they don't need to continue the service after all the dirt is moved and everything is covered.
Okay, so there isn't even like an on-call contract for when this job, when it's done by March, it's just done, we don't need to do it anymore?
That is my understanding.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
I guess the only other question is, I guess we don't have the capabilities internally to do it in the timeframe we need to do it in to meet MDE's expectations. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure we said that on the record as well. Are there any other questions or concerns from members of this body? Hearing and seeing none at this time, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. The next item on non-routine agenda can be found on page 119, SB 2314853, Department of Procurement, on behalf of Department of Finance. This request is to approve an emergency authorization of Calypsis Consulting Group for professional services. On behalf of the city, we have
Adam Manny, your Chief Procurement Officer. If it's okay with the board, I would like to combine this with the next one, SB 2314851. They go hand in hand.
That's fine.
So what we have here, sir, is an emergency procurement that was done back in '22, beginning of '23. This was to Civic Initiatives in Calyptus. As the board knows, sir, Civic Initiative is the company that was hired through an RFP process to do the procurement transformation. I want to point out that these contracts are completely separate from that. It's a completely separate stance of work. What happened is we were going through, in the previous months, the emergency procurements, is procurement did a review internally, and I found that we did not report these contracts out to the board. I'd like to point out that these were well before my time, before the current Director of Finance's time, but as we ask other departments to come before this board, we want to lead by example and come before you and be honest about our mistake that we didn't do it, and now be here and answer any questions that you might have. These two contracts are really staff augmentation contracts for the Bureau of Procurement. They were used to work with our member agencies, our business partners, to help them develop scope of work, specifications, market research, find contracts that we can ride as we continued with continuity of operations. COVID and other factors kind of decimated the Bureau of Procurement. I know it sounds silly when people say you have to staff augmentation for procurement, but at one point in time, we had 4 procurement officers who could do all of the procurements for anything $50,000 and above. And one of those was assigned specifically to fleet, so we had 3. At any given time over the past year, these 3 individuals had anywhere between 70 and 90 procurements of a formal nature, and these just didn't go away. They were revolving. Every time they finished one, 2 more showed up. So Civic Initiatives and Calyptus were brought in to help do that. I want to point out that those individuals did a Herculean task in that time frame, and through the procurement transformation, we are addressing those issues as we move forward, and we hope to release to the public more on the procurement transformation within the next 2 to 3 weeks as we finalize some things. So we moved through this. We found that these were going forward. Civic Initiatives and Calyptus, for an example, started in February with fleet. There were 40 projects that were past due. They were able to reduce that to 18. They have 7 that they expect to be released this month, and another 8 going in February. I'm having some technical problems here. They also worked with DPW on some very important chemical contracts. They've worked with BSIT on 6 or 7 different procurements. all of high value, averaging over $700,000 apiece, and they've been working with the police department also. Both companies have been informed that we will not be continuing the contracts when the contracts ends. They are in a state of winding down, finishing up their current projects. They've been told with no undue certain haste that they should not accept any new work coming from the departments. We asked them to be just Nancy Reagan, just say no, as we wind this down, and as the procurement department gears up to do this. In the last month or two, we have hired 4 contract specialist 2s that are going through training. We are looking to hire an additional 7 or 8 as we move forward. We have instituted training programs. Last month, we held 2 training programs on specification and scope writing for the organization. First one, we had over 70 participants. The second one, unfortunately, was last Tuesday during the snow. We had 2. And next week, I will be doing some training specifically with the health department on specification and scope. Early March, we're going to be doing a class on cooperative procurements in the afternoon, which we'll do live, and we hope to do as a webinar to any agency that wants to partake in it. And we're continuing to ramp up. And I will answer any questions you have about these contracts or the transformation processes we're going forward.
Thank you, Mr. CPO. Just one quick note. I kind of recall what took place a little differently. I think it was my questioning of finance and the CFO that helped us uncover that there were these emergency issues out there that were never brought to this board. It's kind of one of the main concerns that I had related to, I guess, the process that the administration wanted to take in looking at emergency contracts moving forward, and the discussion and ultimate decision that we were able to come to with the administration and the comptroller. And I say that because this does predate you as well as the CFO, but this was an item of contention on this board in the past. If folks can recall, Civic Initiatives was the lowest technical score on this particular bid. And when you looked at the variance deviation associated with what their bid amount was, it wasn't significantly higher than the other ones that scored significantly higher than them. It was kind of the poster child case of just because you're $1 cheaper doesn't mean that you're going to provide the best service in class for us. The concern that I still have with this contract and why I asked the contract, because at the time I did not receive a final report from Civic Initiatives. I appreciate you packaging kind of all of their work product for me, and I did receive that 2 days ago. So I just want to make sure we put that on the record. That's why we're here. Unfortunately, that has to be water under the bridge, but it's really important that we kind of keep the record straight. And clearly, when we talk about procurement reform, that's something that the administration has talked about, something that we've talked about gloomily on this board. We'll continue to push forward for that. Look forward to continue to work with you as well as the CFO and your leadership as we go down that path. But just wanted to kind of lay that groundwork out for folks to understand and know what this Calypsis and this Civic Initiative emergency contract was about. Another big point that I wanted to point out is, I think that when we voted out kind of the last person in the race at the time, which was Civic Initiatives, just for, a couple percentage points cheaper, I said I didn't want to turn this into an actual contract. I didn't want this to extend into another contract. And the fact that it extended into an emergency contract, again, put those red flags up. And I appreciate the time that you were able to take, as well as the CFO, city administrator, to kind of go through what Civic Initiative has done to date to bring us to this point. But I do look forward to this being like the poster child of what we cannot do, and look forward to continue to work with you through your leadership to ensure that we don't go down that path again. With that, are there any other questions or concerns from members of the board? Ms. Comptroller, the floor is yours. Mr. Mayor?
He was first.
Ms. Comptroller?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
A couple things. First of all, when you mentioned that at one point you had 3 procurement agents who were each responsible for 70 to 90 procurements.
Yes, sir.
And I'll say that seems like a lot, but I also remember when DPW would come to the council and tell us how many meters a meter reader was supposed to be able to read in a day. That seemed like a lot. Also, is there an industry best practice for how many procurement officers should be dealing with at the same time?
There isn't, sir. What we've done through the procurement transformation is we're reorganizing procurement as a whole. In the past, any requisition that came in that estimated the cost to be over $50,000 would be reviewed by a procurement manager. They would then look at an Excel spreadsheet, see what the workload is, and then assign it to a procurement officer to use. As part of the procurement transformation, we are reorganizing into teams based upon quantifiable data. Total spend, number of procurements, number of purchase orders issued, and then those teams will be assigned to have agencies to support them. So as part of the process, we're looking to modernize it. So if I am the procurement officer assigned to BSIT for anything 50,000 and above, when BSIT puts something in based upon their chart of accounts, their budget codes, it would automatically route to me. And then the procurement manager can review all the people under them, and if they need to move projects between different people to keep things flowing, they'll be happening that way.
Okay, and the other question, and this was more of, well, no, I guess it's just as specific in that regards. Would you say that the fact that procurement was under capacity, or maybe still is under capacity, how much of that under capacity is because of vacancies that you haven't been able to fill yet, and how much of it is you believe you're understaffed for the amount of work that you're receiving from the agencies?
It's a combination, sir. Based upon the procurement transformation plan, when we are fully staffed and everything is there, we will be at a staffing level equivalent to 2018. Not where we should be, but we will be working through the budget process as everybody else does to increase those levels. Why it got that way, I can't tell you. I can only speculate.
Well, I can name names, but it would be best to wait until after the meeting.
But under the procurement transformation, we are bulking up. We have reactivated positions. We are moving forward with, like I said, to a teams-based model. We're looking at contract administration, procurement card, a variety of things to really get to the city to where it needs to be.
And then the other, how many vacancies do you have right now?
I want to say 10. When I started 6 months ago, it was 14, and there's been some changes, and we've made some changes to it as we've gone forward, hiring and changing internally.
And then I think this is the last question. You'd made reference to the fact that both Civic Initiatives and Calyptus were functioning as staff augmentation and helping you work through this backlog of emergency procurement reports. We had asked last summer just for a list of what emergency procurements had been approved that didn't have reports yet that had been presented to the board. We're still waiting for that list. Do you have it yet?
I don't have a full list. We've been moving through, getting them through. I will get it for you and get it to the board.
Okay, just to be clear, not a list, a list of what reports you still have to do.
Yes, sir.
So how are you working through creating the list?
We're looking backlog on items that were put through, that were never reported, that the board pulled out, making sure we have the proper documentation, and then we are going through and putting those back onto the BOE agenda as we move in the future, as reporting them out. But I can get a complete list to you. We just have to continue doing the research on it.
When are you thinking?
Honestly, sir, it has been moved a little bit to the back. I'll move it back to the forefront as we've been going through the transformation project. I'd ask for at least 60 days to make sure that I get it correct with everything going on.
Okay. I think I will just pass it over to the mayor now. Okay.
Well, before we do so, just to piggyback on that, I think there was another aspect of your question that you've talked about before about the projects that are in the pipeline. So the ones that you've identified that Calypsis and Civic Initiative have had to work on, just whether it's 20 projects, 30 projects, 50 projects, and whether that number grows, just identifying what those projects are for us today is pretty easy to do, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I don't want to hijack the comptroller's question, but I guess what this board has asked for is just give us that snapshot of what you have today while you continue your work to try to identify if there's other things that
information
sit
I do
out
have.
there that have not come through the board
Yes, sir,
yet.
I can send that out to the board.
Yeah.
We have
That's
the
not
current
a
projects.
hijack, that's a help.
All right.
We have the current projects that they're finishing up. and a PowerPoint on what they've already accomplished. I can send that out to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President, and Mr. Comptroller, and Mr. CPO. Thank you for your for your great work. As you heard from us multiple times about the state of procurement, as you know better than anyone else, Baltimore's procurement system was long overdue for a redo. Can you, without getting into, when we know that the President and the Comptroller have been briefed about the work of civic initiatives and what they had to do, looking at our standards and our practices, looking at best practices, working through policy that were long outdated, through systems that needed to be overhauled, but also this backlog that some is from COVID, and as you and I discussed yesterday, some is actually before COVID-19 showed up. Can you talk to us just briefly about what you discovered was missing in addition to the staffing capacity for the Bureau of Procurement upon your arrival?
I would say, sir, is the systems, I don't want to say are archaic, but are archaic. There is a lot of bureaucracy that needs to be done. A lot of our policies and procedures hadn't been reviewed and looked at in 40, 50-plus years, and they need to be reviewed and updated. The threshold limits are low, which we know, and we will be presenting to raise those limits to make them more modern times. It's also addition with the staffing issue, it's also training. Is the procurement staff, we have been pushing to have all the staff become certified. We want them certified through the UPPC, the Universal Public Procurement Council. We're looking to have them all become certified public procurement associates, certified public procurement officers, which I am. Last month, one of our procurement managers took the test and passed and earned her CPPO. We're very proud of her, Ms. Charmaine. So we're moving forward with that. We are also encouraging our business partners and the procurement people in the agencies to review and try and get to those certifications. I can tell you the CPPB and the CPPO exam are 300 questions timed, and they have to pass at least 180 or 185 of them to earn their certification, and then, of course, take continuing education credits. We're also working, like I said, a lot of it is training, internal and external, and we're trying to boost that. Some additional trainings we're having on board for not just procurement, but for the entire organization, is we will have some on-demand procurement training in modules that will be available. The first module we hope to roll out in April, and we have 3 modules under work right now, which not just tells you how to push the buttons in the system, but why you're pushing the buttons and why we do what we do and things of that sort. Really, sir, if you come to my office and my whiteboard, across the top, I have 3 things. The first one is that in the future, I'd like the Bureau of Procurement to become certified by the National Institute of Governmental Procurement. I want us to become an accredited organization. The other one I have is I'd like us to earn the Achievement and Excellence in Procurement Award by the National Procurement Institute. And last but not least is across the top, it says Tip of the Spear, BHAG, Big Hairy Audacious Goal. I want it, and the procurement people, and I know the CFO, is when you're at a conference or somebody else is at a conference and they say, how does a large city do procurement? The answer is go look the way Baltimore does it. They do it right. So that's what we're working on.
And thank you for that. And I think we,
Gesundheit.
just so the residents know, this has continued to be a priority for my administration. And I know of the members of the board, as you pointed out, these things are long ago overdue. I think many of those policies outdate the council president and I. They're iffy if they outdate the comptroller, depending on the year. But we know that this is something that is long overdue, and we appreciate you guys for the work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. CPO. Just want to, publicly state, and we've talked about this before, that I think it's critically important for us not to put the cart before the horse, and that kind of goes back to kind of the archaic systems that are in place, ensuring that there's no loss of transparency as we institute new policies. And I say cart before the horse because if we do not have the technology to kind of communicate it out to the masses of all the work that we're doing, and changing things like thresholds, my concern is that things like some of these emergency contracts or whatever might slip through the cracks, and we might not have the full dialogue and discourse that we need. So
Part of the procurement transformation with our partners at BSID is we want to redevelop the website. The ultimate goal is to have all of the procurements formal, that the board awards, the contract, the information, public-facing. where any citizen, any business can download the contract, can see exactly what we did and why we did it. It'll be a searchable database, they can look for it, and it will all be there. We want to be transparent. That's the ultimate goal, is to have everything out there so that the citizens, or if there's a FOIA request, our answer is we can say it's right online, here's the website, go download the information.
Yes, Mr. CPO, and that's kind of where my concern is. I know that that is best practice. I know that's where we should be. The reality is we're not there from a technology perspective today, and the concern is if we go and institute policies that will potentially eliminate some of the discourse, dialogue, or agenda items that come before the board, my concern is that we will not be in the position to be fully transparent as we ultimately would like to be. So that's kind of the idea when I say putting the cart before the horse. Maybe it's about really putting the systems in place, or if we're not there, ensuring that all the items that we're talking about through the threshold requirement changes are at least provided from a transparent manner.
Yes, sir. We will work with the administration and everybody to make sure that we are being transparent. The procurement transformation will not be overnight. It's 12, 18, 24 months as we continue to work with our partners and we move forward with it. And as we do, we will come up with processes to ensure that we're being transparent, be it reporting out to the board, making public statements, whatever needs to be.
And that's my concern about potentially rushing the threshold reduction through the board, so.
Increase, sir, increase.
Increase.
Don't reduce it. Please don't reduce it.
Yeah. Well, reducing the number of items that folks will
Yes, sir.
hear through the board. That's where my concern is.
Yes, sir.
Another point of my concern, since we're talking about all this and just, publicly stating, is the process for folks to appeal decisions. So, particularly for those that will fall under the new thresholds that are being pushed out, really ensuring that we have a process that's communicated, that's transparent, and provides folks that due diligence to actually appeal any decisions that are made by the administration.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. With that, are there any additional questions, concerns from the board? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to take this first item, then we have to vote on the second item. So for this first item, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. The next item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 120, SB 2314851, Department of Procurement on behalf of Department of Finance. This request is to approve an emergency authorization for Civic Initiatives Incorporated for professional services. That's the testimony we just heard with the Calypsis one. If there aren't any questions or concerns or unreadiness, I will take a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Thank you so much, Mr. CPO, Mr. CFO. Is there anything else that the board would like to address today? Hearing and seeing none, there's no new business before the board. We will adjourn. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Estimates will occur on Wednesday, February the 7th, 2024 at 9 a.m. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in and joining us today. Baltimore, we absolutely love you.
Good afternoon, TV 25. Thanks very much. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Board of Estimates bid opening for January 24th, 2024. We have a few addenda to share today. Department of Transportation, TR 24008, ADA curb, ramp, and sidewalk construction, urgent need east. This bid opening will now take place on February 7th, 2024. For the Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 478, that's 000478, design and construction for conduit and fiber optic cable at multiple locations. This item will now be opened on February 7th, 2024. Also for Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 000431, medium and high voltage electrical systems. This bid will be opened on February 21st, 2024. Again, that was 431, medium and high voltage electrical systems. That bid will be opened on February 21st, 2024. Also for Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 000407, 911 nurse triage line services. A technical only Part A will be opened on March 6th, 2024. That again was RFQ 407 for 911 nurse triage line services. technical part only will be opened on March 6, 2024. And finally, for Department of Public Works, SC 1243, Cromwell Pump Station Improvements. This bid will now be opened on February 21st, 2024. Again, that was SC 1243, Cromwell Pump Station Improvements. That will be opened on February 21st, 2024. So that's the last of our addenda today. Those, again, will be posted on our website when we post the results from the openings today. We have 4 bids to open today, and up first is a bid for the Department of Public Works, contract ER 4127, Environmental Restoration Project 11. Is that the one you're looking at, Abby?
Yes,
Great.
that is.
You can go ahead.
We have Monumental Paving and Excavating, Inc. That total is 530,000.00.
Okay, that amount was first for Monumental Paving and Excavating, Inc., and the bid amount was $530,000, 0 cents.
That
With
is
a bid
correct.
bond.
And there is a bid bond. And a second bid?
The second bid is DXI Construction, Inc. Okay, and this does have a bid bond.
Okay.
And that total is 559,453.00.
That bid amount for DXI Construction was $559,453.00.
That is correct.
And was that our final?
Yes, that's
So
our
that was
final.
our final of 2 bidders for ER 4127 Environmental Restoration Project 11. Up next, for Bureau of Procurement, we have RFQ 000404, wireless access point installation, maintenance, and repairs. This, I believe, is a technical only, Part A, and what that means for folks listening in is that we are going to announce who has proposed, but there won't be any dollar amounts shared. We will only be looking at the technical part of this proposal. If there is a bid bond, we'll indicate that a bond came in with the proposal. So again, you'll only be hearing the names of the bidders, no dollar amounts with this particular item. So our first technical only Part A is,
Blue Star Technologies, Inc.
and is there any kind of bond?
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Got it. So that was Blue Star Technologies, Inc. And one more.
Our second is KCI Communications Infrastructure. And this has a bid bond.
Okay. Is that what you see on?
Yeah, hold on. They have
Excuse
a,
me.
hold on one second. This is saying B. Where's your?
Part A, listed in there as the ones you mailed in. That's how the mailers looked.
You have a B to this?
Yes.
You did? Okay. All right.
So that looks right?
Yes.
KCI Communications Infrastructure. Got it. Okay, that was, we have 2 technical Part As submitted for RFQ 000404. This is for wireless access point installation, maintenance, and repairs. The bidders were Blue Star Technologies, Inc. and KCI Communications Infrastructure. Up next, we have a bid for the Department of General Services, contract GS 21825. This is for 88 State Circle renovations. Our first bidder,
Our first bidder is Nichols Contracting, Inc. And that total is 2,626,000.00.
Okay. Are you ready for me to read this one?
Yes.
$2,626,000.00. Okay, that bidder was Nichols Contracting, Inc.,
With a bid bond.
and there is a bid bond. And can I just check the spelling, Nichols?
Yes.
Is that correct? Great, thank you.
Thank you. Our second bid is Triunfo Builders, Inc.
Is that Trionfo?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a bid bond for this.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And the total is 2,927,088.00.
Pardon me.
Oh, strike that. My apologies.
Go ahead.
It's
Go ahead.
2,927,000.00.
Why do I have to?
Sorry, my cursor jumped around. So that was 2,927, and what were the last three digits again?
000.
No eights.
No eights.
Okay. And let me read that back to make sure we got that right. That was $2,927,000.00.
That is correct.
Okay, that was Triunfo Builders, Inc., and I'll share that number one more time since we had to repeat that
Wait a
one.
minute, we have two different amounts though.
Okay, what do you, okay.
Yeah, see? 2,927,000 right here.
Mhm.
But what they have is something else.
Yeah.
What do you have on page 71? In the front, or where's yours? Yeah.
It looks like a base bid.
Oh, yeah, I have another.
And
Yep.
then,
Two different
and
amounts,
then-
it should be the same. You have,
Well-
what do you have? 298, what do you have on page 70? 2927,
Two,
So this is 871.
yeah, so 2,958,740.
okay, that's the total.
So
That's
this
the
is-
base
so
plus.
this is- So they need to.
Okay, so this bidder has given us a base bid, and did the other bidder do the same thing?
No.
Did they have allowance? Okay, so we have a bidder who's also given us allowance numbers. So we're gonna refer this particular bid to the agency to review this in greater detail. So we have shared the base bid from the second bidder. And again, we'll be referring that for a closer review by the agency,
Yes,
right?
so you're in the same bit, yeah. Is that it for these? Oh, okay, yes.
Okay. And our final bid, are we ready? Department of Recreation and Parks, contract RP 23889. Contract name is Gardenville Recreation Center. And who do we have? That's okay, take your time. No rush.
Oh, because they're loose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't sure if the part's missing in that one.
We have one bid, and that is Towson Mechanical Incorporated. That total is 15,475,000.00.
Okay, and is there a bid bond for this one?
Yes, there is.
Okay, that was Towson Mechanical Incorporated, and I'm going to confirm that number with Audrey. $15,475,000.00. Great. And that was our only bidder for this, that was our only bidder for RP 23889. the Gardenville Recreation Center. And that was our final bid for today. We will be opening bids again on February 7th, 2024. And we thank everyone for tuning in.